Hello everyone, welcome back to another Speed Pixel. Today we're talking about our Spectral Lords. We see them there in full glory. I'm going to show you how it was done. So to start with, we pick a palette, obviously, and by we I mean I. There isn't a team working on this. Pick a palette, change some of the colours, because this original piece was done a very, very long time ago before I tried to standardise a lot of stuff. So I've got a colour palette now. There's a master palette based off like a, do you know, I did it so long ago I can't remember. I think it was like a, what was it now? It was like a SNES maybe, or maybe the Sega Mega Drive or something. So there wasn't millions of colours like you can have on Photoshop. There's like 32 or something, I don't know, I can't remember now. But anyway, there's a limited palette, and so that's my master palette. And then I have changed the saturation on one to be higher saturation, and then changed the saturation on another to be lower saturation. So you've got like an out there palette, a normal, and then a neutral palette. Now I kind of lean towards the neutral palette more often, but I do quite like you trying to use the higher saturation palette quite a bit, because it, like you can see there, those greens are quite popping, if that's even a word. So yeah, the Spectral Lord's always been one of my favourite bad guys from Storyteller. I wanted him to be like almost just insanely creepy with this big gaping maw that just has a sort of set of teeth inside it, and this big horrible tongue, a little bit like is it Slimer from Ghostbusters? A little bit like that. Is it Slimer or something? Yeah, similar to that. That's where the green sort of came from, and then obviously the tongues and stuff. A lot of the inspiration for this enemy in particular, and the enemy chain of Spectre, Ghost, and Wraith, then Spectral Lord, was a very, very old video game that me and all of my brothers, probably save one, used to play. Originally, the one that we played was called Forever Untold, but it was based on an old game called Mercenaries of Estonia. Not many people have ever heard of it, but the ghosts in that are very similar to the ones that I've got in Storyteller, and it was just a direct nod to that. So recently we had a bit of a Q&A on the Instagram to ask if there was any Easter eggs in it. Yes, that's one of them. I've just given you one for those who were looking. They're very few and far between, but yeah, they're in there. So this starts coming together a little bit, but I remember spending a long time on this kind of chest area here. I think a lot of it was I want it to look weird, ethereal, something not quite right, but it still needs to play into the anatomy of what was once a person. So trying to draw out these kind of ribs and stuff, and then the shoulder anatomy was just a little bit like these wrinkles you can see there. Are they wrinkles? Are they just spectral energy holding them together? Like, I kind of hadn't really made up my mind or sort of thought this far ahead. So yeah, you see this all start to sort of come together and blend in these colours. It was very much more, it was more of a trial and error, this one, than some of the other ones, definitely. Where, say, the Skeleton King, he's got an obvious form because he's wearing armour. And armour is something I'm fairly familiar with. I've drawn it for years. I've played games with armour in for years, but sort of odd, and I've always taken an interest in it anyway. These odd kind of anatomy kind of things, not so much my strength really. So it was a fun challenge. That's what I'm trying to say. Very long-winded way of saying that. Yeah. So you can see I've tried to bring out this spectralness with those kind of highlights. They're called spectral highlights, where you can see the very, very top of the white and the cyan there, to kind of give a curvature to that shoulder piece and then the chest piece as well. But there was a lot of experimentation here at this point with some of the different colours I'd chosen, I think I revisited the palette a couple of times, and then this was just a lot of like feathering, I guess. There's a proper pixel word for it and I can't remember what it's called. Dithering, I think. So there's a lot of dithering and a lot of copy pasting, because dithering takes forever. And then adding in these sort of yellows to kind of blend in with the greens. That was a choice, a happy accident, but a choice. Because it kind of brings together that whiteness. But that's it, guys. There is a missing bit of footage. I don't know where it's gone, deleted, but that's it. That's all you're getting. Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you next time.